Pray and obey, there is no other way, yeah. Actually, I think it's trust and obey, but the Amazing Atheist video was titled Pray and Obey, so I decided to change it up a little bit for you folks out here on YouTube land. You know, Christians, sometimes we got some crazy jingles. We like to take songs that we hear out in the secular world and we try to spice them up a little bit like this song. The church is on fire. We don't need the devil because the devil is a liar. Ooh, the devil is a liar. That's right. Now, TJ, I watched your video, and for much of your video, I actually sat there and I was like, yeah, I agree. We got self-righteous hypocrites over in the church. We got Christians that are trying to use prayer and religious language and Christianity in general as a means of making themselves look spiritual and holy and righteous. Meanwhile, trying to make everyone else around them look like they're horrible, sinful, broken, screwed up people who are going to hell in a handbasket, right? That's their goal. Their goal isn't to redeem or bring healing or to serve the people around them. Their goal is to judge the people around them. Now, granted, in Christianity, everybody's broken. Everybody's got their own problems, own burdens that they're carrying, things that they're struggling with. And I think we all can sort of resonate with these sort of ideas, these principles that Christ teach, that there is a sort of sickness that we all are dealing with, and that sometimes there's a recognition of it, and we acknowledge that we need forgiveness, we need healing. We want to be freed from these chains that enslave us. And that's why I'm an Orthodox Christian, because I recognize the state of who I am as a human. And you see, the thing is, TJ, if I was looking around at all these different Christians around me that are, these self-righteous hypocrites over here, and we got the Christians over here they're trying to pass legislation to impose Christian morality and values upon all these other people over here, despite the fact when you look at their church has people getting divorced, people in the church are committing adultery, porn is rampant, and everybody and the brothers looking at it, and nobody's talking about it, and the church doesn't seem to have too much of an issue with it, and yet they're wanting to go out and pass legislation about what marriage should be and what the family should look like, and yet mom and dad are working those 40, 50, 60 hours a week, leaving their kids at home to be raised by the television, the internet, YouTube people. And you're sitting there and you're wondering, it's like, okay, so how is it that you guys over here, you claim to believe in God and Jesus Christ, and you claim to be so special and so holy. And yet, when I look at your lives, you ain't got nothing together, and yet you're trying to impose all of this stuff that you ain't got together on the rest of us. Tell me, how does that make sense? Now, I agree with you, TJ. That's exactly what I see too. I see the same exact thing. I see the hypocrisy. I see the self-righteousness. And if my Christianity was based upon these people that I was looking at, I wouldn't be an Orthodox Christian. Because as an Orthodox Christian, what matters to me as a Christian is going back to Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ disrupts these people. Jesus Christ walks in to these churches and to their lives, and either those people can accept him and hear his rebuke, his admonishment, his inspiration and encouragement, or those people can shut them out. They get to decide. But whenever they decide, whoever around me, whatever they decide, I'm going to worry about me first. I'm going to worry about being transformed and changed first by the truth that I believe that Christ was crucified and risen. It begins with me. So I don't excuse their behavior. But at the same time, when I look at the Christians, I see this. But when I look at humanity, I see this, TJ. I was on Tumblr, and I was reading through different people's Tumblrs. And people who believe in God and people who don't believe in God, I see a lot of similarities. I see them talking about the struggles that they're facing in life. I see them talking about the loneliness and the depression. I see them talking about desiring to be in love, to feel loved, to be loved. I see them talking about all these similar themes. And to me, as a Christian, Jesus Christ is the one who addresses these realities in my life. Now, TJ, what I like about you is that you share these moments in the midst of the entertainment that you got going on. You share these moments of your personal life, about your father being in the hospital and how in that moment you prayed out to God. Granted, you wanted to make a bargain with God, and I thought it was interesting because you said after that, why would God care about me? Why would God care about answering my prayer? And how many of us have felt that way? How many of us has felt that in the midst of crisis that we called out to God, thinking to ourselves, God, you know what? I never have really called out to you before. God, I never really cared about living my life for you. And yet, God, in this moment of desperation, when I don't know what else to do, when I have nothing else to grasp for because everything is hopeless at this point, God, I'm going to call out to you. Jesus, I want to know if you are real in this moment. Answer me. Do something for me. There's that sense, that awareness within us that, yes, if I could just, God, if you're there. We cry out, God, if you're there, help me. I think many of us can relate to this feeling. And TJ, I thought it was interesting how you talked about the response to that you thought was being as irrational, but you understood it. I'd like to argue that response was not in any way irrational because you were responding to a moment, a reality that's going to hit all of us if it already hasn't. The reality that we're all going to die. People around us are going to die, that we see suffering around us. And we don't know what to do, and there's nothing we can do sometimes. And we respond with the only thing that we feel like we can do by calling out to God. As a Christian, though, TJ, what if I told you that moment when you're in the hospital with your dad and you felt like there was nothing else and the only thing you had left to do was to call out to God? To me as a Christian, you see, it's not too much to see how that feeling, that moment, that reality of calling out to God, of acknowledging the sense in you that God, please be there. Please do something. Is very much the response that I have every day of my life. When I get up, when I go to sleep at night, when I wake up in the morning, the response of God, instead of, if you're there, God, I know you're there. Thank you for being there. Even in the midst of my suffering, even in the midst of all these things that happen that I have no idea why in the world you let them happen, but God, I trust you. I don't know how it's going to work out. I can't see beyond my own finite life, but I know within me this awareness, this sense that God, you are here somehow in some way. Despite the fact that I get pissed off at you sometimes, despite the fact that I don't get it a lot of times, Christ, I still acknowledge you. So prayer for me, TJ, is not about rubbing the genie, the magic lamp to get my wishes granted. It's much more about acknowledging the reality that it's not just those moments when we're in the hospital and we're facing crisis, but for me, it's the reality that when I wake up, when I go to bed at night, the reality that there is something more to life and that God is very real presence to me. You all take care, and may the peace of Christ be with you.